Raceday, Chris Terrell here with Jaeger Bombs Fantasy Sports. That's patreon.com/JagerBombs. You can also get my content over at dfsr.com as well. No longer doing the NASCAR articles, but I do have all my cheat sheets and everything up over there as well. So today we are starting the round of 8, as you can see here in the NASCAR playoffs. We're going to Texas. Next week would be Kansas and then Martinsville before we head into the final race at Phoenix. So things are getting down the season. I just can't believe how fast it is gone. Feels like it was just Daytona the other day. Just sharing everything here, and then we will get going talking about the race. Going to go for about 30 minutes here. Pretty busy with NFL here today as well. If any of my members are in here now and you guys want to see a quick NFL show, if you've got any questions about the sheet, about my core, about some stats, about anything at all, matchups, go into the main members chat in our Discord and throw up a football emoji on that comment that I made, and I will try and put one together once this NASCAR show is over. But for now, we are going to talk some NASCAR. I'm going to bring up the sheet here in a second. We're going to talk some DFS. We're going to talk DraftKings. We're going to talk FanDuel as well as some PrizePicks plays I have at the end here as well. So as you can see, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Ryan Blaney are your top 4 sitting above the cut line right now going into this round of 8. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, and Brad Kozlowski are just below that cut line. So now we jump into the cheat sheet. We are going to have a look at the pricing. So at the top, no longer in the playoffs, but Kevin Harvick's number 1 just because, well, he crashed out last race. Pretty funny seeing as he took Elliot out thinking that he was going to go through, and then he ended up overdriving a corner at the Charlotte Road Course, hitting the wall and knocking himself out of the playoffs. So pretty ironic there. He started in 24th because of that last week, so that puts him at the top of the price just because from Joey Logano up here, he is the only driver. And if we go look at the fantasy matrix here, he is the only driver that can get a 6X without getting any dominator points, laps led, or projected fast laps. So he's going to be definitely a core driver for me. He's number 3 in my overall rankings in the model. So he's definitely up there. So pretty much what you're going to have to do today, and the way I've looked at it so far in terms of my lineup construction, almost like every week, but you really just need to be firm on 2 or 3 drivers. I'm definitely going like, it's not a full stars and scrubs. I'm not going down and touching the bottom guys here. I'll talk about LaJoy in a bit. He's a guy that I like in terms of a super stars and scrubs. Cole Custer a little bit starting 20th. We'll talk about those guys. But I'm pretty much going like it's a modified stars and scrubs, so it's not extreme by any means. But I'm going with 2 guys in the top, and you can build around. Would be my second core driver here would be Kyle Larson. Now the reason for that, I was looking at intermediate. Okay, so this is all the intermediate stats for the 2021 season. So there's been 9 races. He's got 6 top 5s, 2 wins, 7 top 10s, 9 top 20s, one of only 4 drivers there in terms of consistency. There we've got the laps led. That's what I'm really looking at. So I wanted to look at when he started on the pole. So he started on the pole at Vegas, led 95 laps. Started 6th, led 156. Started 6th, led 0. So that Atlanta, that 18th place finish, along with Kansas here, where he started at the back, are 2 of his worst races in the intermediates. Now, in terms of that Kansas race, he led 132 laps in there. So he stormed forward, led 132 laps, looked like he was going to be a dominator, plus the elite place differential play. Did not turn out that way for him. So unfortunately, he ended up 19th, but still with that 132 laps led, gives you 100 DK points. So his price, I believe, was probably in that 10 to 11K range. So we're looking at like 8 to 10X there on a 19th place finish for Larson. So definitely like Larson. Morning, Ryan. How's it going? Happy race day. And then we move over. So only other time that he has started on the pole, that's what I was kind of looking at in this, was this Las Vegas where he led 95 laps. But he's led laps in all but 2 of these 9 races. So he's definitely up there. And in terms of looking at Texas in the past, we see a lot of multiple, you can get 2 or 3, even up to 4 dominator drivers out of this. Like we had Clint Boyer starting 21st, led 89. Kyle Busch, this is the playoff race last year. Kyle Busch led 90. Martin Truex Jr. led 53, Alex Bowman led 43, and then we even had Ryan Blaney lead 20 and Kevin Harvick lead 28. So we generally get 5+ guys that are going to be leading 20 or more laps, but generally only looking for about 2 monster dominators, we'll call them, like 75+ laps. We could get 2 drivers in that range. We could get Kyle Larson absolutely dominating as well. He's done it before. I would not put that out of range. On the matrix, you can see I have projected him for 80 laps led. That's kind of median target in terms of laps led, but that 80 laps led and fast laps for these guys that are the laps leaders, they're usually getting about half of their laps led in terms of fast laps. So I've got him at 40 fast laps. 63 points is what we need for 6X. If he leads 80 laps, gives you 40 fast laps, that is a 10th place finish Kyle Larson needs. I think he can lead more laps, honestly. And I think he's going to win. So, I mean, we're talking monster. If he does that and leads 80 to 100 laps, wins the race, we all of a sudden don't need, and that's something I wanted to talk about first before getting into the actual fantasy matrix, but we're not going to need as much from our bottom guys if we do go that stars and scrubs build, especially if we go Larson and Harvick, where we get the place differential, plus we get the dominator. Like I said, Harvick is the only driver in the top tier that doesn't need dominator points to hit that 6X return. 6X return he gets with a win kind of in that second and first. If he leads any laps, which I don't foresee that, but paying up for that much at 24th, him and Larson I thought would possibly be in the 11K range, but they're not, which groups all these drivers pretty much together. Those are my top 2, and from there I'm going to, if I was multiple lineup building, which I'm not today, I've only got time to do my one single lineup, and that's going to be my core is Harvick and Larson. If I was going multi-entry, what I would probably do, and what I am feeling right now, is Joe Gibbs Racing with Truex, who started in 8th, gives you some place differential. He finished 2nd here last year. If we go look at, and I'll show you why I'm looking at Joe Gibbs over all the other Chevy cars and Hendrick cars specifically. I like Larson for Hendrick. The other 3 I'm down on, but I do like Truex, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch would be my, I guess we'll call it GPP pivots, because Larson and Harvick, I think, are going to take most of that ownership here in this top tier. And then from there, I think it's going to be fairly evenly spread out between all these drivers, even going down from Logano up to Truex. I think Truex will be next in line in terms of ownership, starting 8th. And the reason I like them, if we go look at the intermediate stats this year, so sure, we've got Kyle Larson up there. We've got Denny Hamlin at the top. He's got 2 wins, same as Larson. Same or a little bit better average finish, but then you got Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., both been very, very solid and consistent on the intermediate tracks, both with the 7.2 average finish, both with 8 top 10s. That leads everyone. Truex got 5 top 5s. Kyle Busch leads everyone with 7 top 5s on intermediates. Then we go look at the Hendrick guys. You got William Byron here. He does have a win, 11.8, 9.4 average run. So I like seeing that average run a little bit higher than the average finish. So that's nice for him. We go down, we look at Chase Elliott. He has no wins on intermediates this year, which is, I would say, a little bit concerning going into this final run here. This is kind of, these 2 races are kind of big in terms of 2 back-to-back intermediate races. So it's a little bit concerning for him. He does have that average run that is a little bit better than that average finish, but only 3 top 5s and 5 top 10s. A little bit concerning for me in terms of paying up, especially considering if we are rostering these guys, these drivers in the top, starting, say, top 5 especially, we do need laps led from them, or a lot to go wrong from these other guys. I don't see Chase, Byron leading laps. Even Bowman, I don't see them leading laps. So we need a lot to go wrong for these other guys. Byron starting 12th is interesting. He's looking at a top 5 finish is going to give him in that 5X range. He's probably going to be fairly low owned, even though that 12. Same with Bowman. So those 2 over Elliot for me, if you're going like GPP, but this would be about 50 lineups before I'm getting into this kind of strategy. So this is more of a multi-entry thing. Pairing Larson and Kyle over Larson and Harvick for single entry, 100%. Actually, I've built 2 lineups now. I've altered my lineup. I kind of wanted to try 2 different ways with Harvick and Larson, and then I wanted to try with Larson and someone else. I'm set on Larson being the top dominator, starting from the pole. I think he's got huge upside, especially if he can lead 100+ laps. We're looking at 10 11x return out of him. Pairing him with Kyle Busch definitely does make sense, and I'm going to go over here and look. So if we go Larson and Harvick, that leaves us 7,150. That's not bad, especially considering how many value guys I like, and I'm going to touch on that here next. But if we take out Harvick and put in Kyle Busch, we've got 7,400 left now. That leaves us a lot of room. So yes, I'm 100% on board for single entry going that route, because Harvick is starting 24th, looking for that place differential. People are going to be on that now. Harvick being out of the playoffs doesn't have much to go for. Is he going to be stupid and go after Elliot again? I really don't think so. I think that's kind of gone now. I think that's kind of settled. Maybe not for Harvick. Maybe he's got some bad blood, but I mean, I'm not going to project into that sort of narrative or anything like that. So I do like Larson and Busch. In terms of Blaney, I do like the, just give me a second here, 222 and the 12. Better than the Hendrick cars for sure. They've been a lot more consistent here, especially Logano and Kozlowski, especially with their prices. I get it, they're starting 5th and 7th, but they have been both very maybe not Kozlowski, he's been up and down, but he's shown some upside here, so I definitely like him as a GPP play. Logano starting 5th GPP, he's going to need to probably get up there and lead some laps, but definitely solid at 9,100 to get a guy that's like consistently top 10 with a very high top 5 rate here at this track. Looking at his stats coming in, bit concerning. He's down here a bit in terms of, he's only 2 top 10s on these intermediates this year, but one came at Darlington to start the playoffs, and 11th at Las Vegas in the playoffs as well. So it is nice to see kind of that momentum maybe building for him. I think he's going to be a bit lower owned. As for Blaney, though, he's the most expensive of those 3 guys. He has been super solid here, but he's starting 4th. So again, with any of these guys, especially Blaney, because he's a little bit more expensive, starting 4th, you're going to need laps led. So if you think he can get up there and he's going to be one of your dominators that leads, let's just say, like right now, if he wins the race, doesn't get any dominator, he's giving you 5x return. I don't think that's going to kill you at all in your lineups, especially if you've got pairing him with, say, Larson, who gets 120 laps led, gets you like 90 to 100 DK points. He's giving you 10 to 12x. I don't think we need the 6-7x from Blaney, so I think that is totally doable. And then you go and give him, let's just say he's one of these lower end guys, gives you 25 laps led, 10 projected fast laps. Now you're over 6x, so 100% there with Blaney. And all of those Penske guys, honestly, I do like all 3 of them for GPPs. I don't like pairing all 3 of them together necessarily, but 2 of the 3 of them I think really separates your Kyle Larson builds, because I think Harvick's going to be up there in terms of ownership with Larson. Truex is going to be a top pairing, I think. Him starting 8th. Kyle Busch, like you talked about, I think is going to be a top pairing with him. So that's kind of the way I see. I think also Kozlowski and Logano are going to be lower owned, because you've got Ross Chastain starting 25th. Now, he doesn't have great track history here. He's in a lot better equipment now in the 42. And you've got Kurt Busch starting 17th, who's been just a top 10 absolute machine here. Starting 17th is a lock in cash for me. I've been playing a lot more cash games, especially on the intermediate tracks. Just because they seem like they're a little bit more predictable in terms of, like, especially the road courses or Daytona or Talladega, or even the short tracks are tough to predict. So it's more the short flats I like a lot for cash games, as well as the intermediate tracks. So Kurt Busch for me, I mean, you're in 6x range for him at a 5th place finish. So a top 5 for a driver who's a top 10 machine here, even a top 10 is going to get you 41 points. You're bordering 5x at his median finish. So I absolutely love the floor with Kurt Busch for cash games, and obviously the GPP upside at only 8,700. I mean, if you get into 6x range with a guy at 8,700, and you're in that 10x plus range here, and say you went with Blaney, so that's your core, Larson, Blaney, and Kurt Busch, your upside is tremendous, especially if Blaney there gets you some laps led in that lineup as well. You have huge upside in that lineup if those 3 drivers, say, finish top 5 and one of them wins it. All right, so I definitely like that. Yeah, so I think I answered your question there, Ryan. Kurt Busch definitely for me over Logano for single entry. Logano would be the GPP pivot. Him and Kozlowski are going to be lower owned because Kurt Busch and Chastain are sandwiched between them in price. So I feel like Kurt Busch is definitely going to be, and Chastain are going to be, maybe not Chastain, but Kurt Busch definitely is going to be higher owned than Logano and Kozlowski. So it's Kurt Busch for me in that range, and then Logano, then Kozlowski if I had to rank those three drivers right there. All right. So moving down, let's go down and talk about some of these value guys. If we are building, like I said, my lineup right now, let's just go extreme so we know what we're playing with here. These are the top two drivers. Now we're down into that 7K range. It seems a little bit risky in terms of stars and scrubs, but we can definitely make it work. A couple drivers that I like to make that work going down the list. Obviously, got to talk about it every single week here is Ryan Newman, starting 31st. I mean, for cash games, he's top 20 in 5 straight races here, pretty much average 15 over the last 5 races. That's just too hard to look away. I don't necessarily like rostering Newman this much, but at 7,000 starting 31st, it's someone that's, a pretty good, 10th to 15th place outlook here. Projection, that is 44 to 55 points. And for Newman, that's over 6X. So if he gives you a 10th to 15th place finish, he's absolutely crushing. So we have to talk about Newman. He's going to be chalky, but he fits this build absolutely perfect. So this is why I believe he's probably going to be a top 3 to 5 highest owned driver because he helps you get that stars and scrubs build. So this is a place where for cash games, I'm 100% lock on Newman for cash, just kind of like Kurt Busch. So, I mean, in terms of a cash lineup, that's pretty solid right there. You might want to go away from Harvick just to get some more cash to kind of get a little bit more of a balance. But for GPP, this can definitely work for you if you wanted to go that route. We talk about Newman. Now, Newman is if you want to go, I don't know what the actual ownership projections are going to be, but I believe Newman's going to be the highest owned value play just based on starting 31st. Haley might get some starting 32nd. Myself, I do like Eric Jones, 21st here last year, so that median, and if he finishes right where he starts here again at 6,600, that gives you 21 points. So that's going to fall shy. So he needs to get back to, say, let's go back to that for a second. We're kind of looking for like 26 to 33 points. So that's kind of in the range of 19th, 15th to 19th. I think that's totally doable. He's been putting up top 10s here like crazy. So I don't think that's out of bounds at all. And he's only 6,600. So that fits in our build as well if you want to go that route. If you want to go lower, I think Corey LaJoie is fine. That's more of a GPP play. I'm not going to use this in cash games starting 29th. He kind of needs to... We're kind of looking for about 23 points out of him. So that's about a 24th place finish. So that's five spots ahead. I don't think that's out of the realm whatsoever. It's just a little bit risky for a driver in that kind of equipment. So it's more of a GPP play for me. I do think he can get, 18th to 20th, kind of his upside range, I would say, which is going to put you in that 5 to 6X, which is going to crush. So I do like that for GPP. I don't mind Custer. I mentioned that before, starting 20th. Again, more GPP. These guys down here are definitely GPP only for me. Jones, I would consider in cash games, like I said, starting 21st. We're really only looking for a 15th to 18th, kind of in that range from him. Talked about Newman, super chalk. I think we can pivot off Newman to get some leverage in GPPs. If you're doing single entry, it's Newman for me. If you're wanting to diversify your player pool a little bit and leverage off of that ownership that Newman's going to see in case of a wreck, which happens frequently, Stenhouse makes a lot of sense starting 27th. He's going to get some ownership too, but I think he's going to be less owned than Newman. I love going up to Austin Dillon. He's number 2 in my overall rankings. Now, that may seem crazy, but hear me out. He's starting 15th. He's won here. He won here last spring. Or I guess it was last summer. It was July, sorry. 11th in the playoff race. He's been top 15 in 5 straight. So that puts him, let's go, Dillon. So 15th is kind of his median finish right now, or actually that would be like his floor is 28 points. So at 15th place finish where he's finished in each of the last 5 races or better, he's also won, that is going to give you 4X. 37.5 is going to give you that 5X and 45 for 6X. Well, 45, that's only a 7th place finish. I love it. He's got a floor. He's got upside. He's starting 15th, so I think people are going to the ownership's going to be down a little bit because of Stenhouse and Newman, Justin Haley, Eric Jones, because of those 4 drivers. Dillon is more expensive than all of them and gives you like half as much place differential. Now, that's not the only thing. I think Dillon is a core play for me and not just a GPP pivot, just simply because let's look, he is the 6th best average finish of all drivers on intermediate tracks this season. That's a 9-race sample size. This isn't a small sample size. He has no top 5s, no wins, no top 5s, only 4 top 10s. That tells you just how amazingly consistent he has been on these intermediate tracks this season. It's pretty astounding. 13th, 10th, 12th, 6th, 16th is his worst finish. 10th, 6th, 12th, 12th. Absolutely amazing for Dillon, just super consistency. He's a core play for me today, for sure. And I think he's going to be lower owned as well, so that's a bonus. You want to even pivot off that even further, I like Tyler Reddick. He's starting 9th. He's finished 2nd here in July, 15th in the fall. So he does have the upside in that number 8 car for sure. There's a little bit more risk to it, so it's going to be GPP only for me. But definitely like Reddick here. Briscoe started in 26. So this range in this, let's say mid-6, not even mid-6. Yeah, mid-6 with Eric Jones. All the way up to Chase Briscoe. I love multiple drivers in here. Almirola, I'm kind of off of. I think people will be on him because he started in 22nd. He's got top 10s in 4 of his last 5. What concerns me overall, his form has been absolutely garbage. 23rd best average finish in the playoffs. 19.5. That's just not going to cut it. Only 4 top 10s in those 6 races. And then even, obviously the intermediate stats are not going to be great for him either. Yeah, way down here, 29th in average finish, 26 average finish. So I'm full fade on Almirola. I definitely like Briscoe more. He gives you 4 more place differential. He's been better on the intermediate tracks. He's been better overall. Same equipment. So, but Briscoe's definitely outperformed Almirola and gives you more upside and a better floor, obviously here. So I definitely like that. So that kind of covers all the ranges. Not seeing any more questions, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up and I'm going to move on to my build here. Chase that Elliot. I don't think we'll be chasing that Elliot today. Maybe GPP only. Not for me though. Definitely chasing him going into those final rounds though. The defending champion could be picking up some momentum. This would be a couple of races here. These next 2 are huge for Elliot. Like I said, he struggled on the intermediate tracks this season, which is a little concerning, but a little bit of a surprise to me. Obviously, I mean. All 3 of them, Byron, Bowman, and Elliott, compared to what Kyle Larson's been doing. I mean, you think they're sharing information. You think they'd be all pretty close, but Larson has been head and shoulders above the rest of the Hendrick crew on the intermediate tracks. And then the Joe Gibbs guys have just been super, super strong. Denny Hamlin's been just absolutely amazing in the playoffs, especially like if we just look at the season stats here. This is just the 6 races in the playoffs. A 4.2 average finish for Hamlin is 3.5 spots better than Logano. Like, he's easily the best form. So Hamlin, Truex, and Kyle Busch, I love pivoting off of, and I do like more than Hendrick. If I had to rank teams, I guess today, overall teams, it would be Joe Gibbs, and then I would be Hendrick just because of Kyle Larson. But as a team overall, I do like the Penske drivers more. They're cheaper. They've been more consistent here at this track. They've been more consistent on intermediate tracks as a team. So that's kind of my rankings there at the top. All right, so PrizePicks here, a couple that I do like. We'll flip over to the site. I do like Kyle Busch. For him, we're looking at a 6th place finish is going to get you a push. So really, if he leads just a few laps, a 6th place finish is actually going to get you the win if you're betting the over on his fantasy score here. So I definitely like that. I think he can get up there and get you some laps led. Enough, at least, if he gets you 5 laps led, that's going to be enough to give you a 6th place finish is going to be a win for you. So I definitely like that. Kyle Larson's sitting at a over under 3.5 if you bet the over. Now, I always talk overs on the fantasy score, but I convert that on my sheet to over under finishing position, and then we look at dominator points. So if you think Larson leads 100 laps, that's going to give you an extra point. So that's going to put him at 36.5 over under, which is going to give you an extra place. So it's going to be 4th place or better. So you could definitely consider that. But I like Denny Hamlin here as well. Hamlin, we need a top 5 finish out of a top 6 if he leads 100 laps and gets you that extra point on PrizePicks. So I definitely like that. Those duo there. I think I also like going down to Kozlowski or Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch is set at a top 10. A 10th place finish is going to give you a push. I don't think he's going to get you laps led. So that is exactly what we're looking for, is a top 10 out of him. Like I said, he's done that in 7 straight, 8 of his, 8 straight, 9 of his last 10 races here at this track. So I definitely like that. So those would be my top 3 right now. I think we could possibly even look at Austin Dillon with the top 10, but that's kind of pushing it. If you want to go some unders in fantasy score, which would be over on finish position, I do like Almirola. His is set at 11.5, so I do think he's going to finish outside of the top 11, so I think we could go with that one as well. That would be like my 4th pick. But generally, I think what I'm going to play today is these 3, over. Which, again, like I said, for Kyle Busch, that gives you need a 6th place or better if he leads any laps at all. 6th place or better is going to get you the win versus the push. Denny Hamlin, you need a top 5. And then with Kurt Busch, we need a top 10. Eric Jones is interesting as well. We need a 16th place finish or better, but I just don't feel like we need to go that kind of risk. So these are the 3 I like. You can go power play. Scroll over there. So we can go power play where you need to get all 3 right, and you that would be a 5x return on that. Or you can go a flex play where you can get one of them wrong, but then your payout is, if you get all 3 right, you're only going to get 2.25x instead of 5. And if you only get 2 out of 3 correct, you're going to get 25%, 1.25x return on that. So it's kind of up to you what your risk reward is. I'm probably just going to say screw it and go with the power play because I do like those returns. All right. So that covers that. That covers FanDuel plays. That covers DraftKings plays. So that's a nice core right there for me. I'm almost considering going Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Newman, Jones, and you can get Kurt Busch. This is kind of like, this would be right here my cash game core. And then kind of let you pick your 2, whatever way you want to go here with your 2 value plays. So, all right. That's to wrap things up. I'm just going to double check here back to the stream, make sure there's no more questions. Thank you all for joining in. I really do appreciate it. If you want a quick NFL show here shortly, make sure to go into the members chat. And if you're new, if you're just tuning in from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, you want to give us a try over at Jägerbombs Fantasy Sports, you can do so. In the description below, I've got the link to our Discord. You can get in there. That gives us some trial members. I'm going to post some rankings for trial members today. If you want to just join up, it's $10 a month American, $13.50 Canadian. That gets you access to our cheat sheet, our coaches. I do primetime showdown rankings for Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football. I do rankings and notes for every position and top stacks with notes for the main slate on Sunday. That covers all the Sunday games. And then in the Discord chat, we're talking stats, we're talking strategies pretty much all day long. So make sure to get in there over either a trial with our Discord or patreon.com/Jägerbombs, and you will find our NFL package there on the main page. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a great day. Let's go get some green screens.